Okay, hey, good afternoon, you guys. How's everybody doing today? As I said, we are having a dealer training, so I think Scott probably mentioned to you guys that we would still have the call, but it just may be a little bit of an abbreviated version. I know last week we went 90 minutes, which was good. We covered a lot of good stuff, but I'm actually somewhat out of breath because I just came hauling ass back from the Holiday Inn over to the office. So I just sat down, and there's a couple things I do want to go over. I want to cover a couple of small issues, nothing major. But before I do, let me throw it over to you guys. Is there anything you want to bring up before we get started? And I'm sure there must be. It's a very busy week, very busy month. We're officially into March, so it doesn't get any busier. Well, it actually does get a little busier. It'll get busier in April, but it is pretty hectic. I know you guys got a lot going on, and if there's anything I can possibly do to help, please let me know. So let me hand over to you guys for a minute. Is there anything that's on you guys' mind? Is there anything you want me to address in regards to absolutely anything? Nobody's typing. Can everybody hear me? How's that? Still nobody's typing. Somebody give me a signal. Hey, thank you. As I said, sometimes it's weird to be sitting here talking to the computer screen with nobody interacting. So thank you for interacting. Good. We got a couple questions popping up here. What is the right time to apply the first app of Growth Activator? So the Growth Activator, round one, really everywhere in the country. David, in your case, a transition to northern zone, a cool season, but I assume mostly transition you're dealing with. It is just the first application of the year. So the Growth Activator and the kelp, round one should be applied as soon as you can get out on the lawns. Now, that's a debatable. That subject is up for debate because some of the other companies, especially TruGreen, are out on lawns, with snowbanks still on the corners. So whenever you feel comfortable doing round one, and you should probably do. You don't want to wait. In fact, I've had this discussion with several guys before. Don't wait too long. You want to get out there and start doing your first apps as soon as you can within reason. So the ground certainly can't be frozen. You don't want to have any snow on the ground. You're not in a position where you have to treat 25,000 lawns in 4 weeks, so there's no reason to really push it the way TruGreen has begun to push it. David, you just want to get out when it feels right. And that sounds kind of strange, but you probably know what I mean. When things kind of begin to come out of dormancy, when the leaves start to show up on the trees, just your basic spring app. Don't push it. Don't get out there when there's snow on the ground or the ground's frozen. Get out there when it feels right. But don't wait too long either. So the Growth Activator and the kelp, especially Growth Activator, it's an inoculant. It's a biologically active product. A light frost isn't going to hurt it. If you get a frost after it's applied, especially if the microorganisms have been able to find their way down into the rhizosphere, into the soil where they like to live. A real hard frost will. So you kind of keep that in mind too, and that's what I mean by you want to get out there as soon as you can, but you don't want to push it. Hopefully that answered your question, David. I don't have a specific date. You have to kind of do it when it feels right. A couple other questions. Kevin, how can Lawn Doctor treat 42 acres for less than $100 per acre? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to try to figure that one out. I mean, that's at a loss. There's no way. I was doing the math, but it's pretty easy. 42 acres for $100 per acre is less than $1 per square foot. Whoever made that sale is losing the company money. Don't ever participate in that type of situation. And I've very seldom seen it that low. Are you serious, or are you exaggerating, Kevin? Because that's crazy. Don't ever go near that. You don't. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. Is the Lawn Doctor you're competing with a well-established franchise, or is it a relatively new franchise? Because Lawn Doctor has had issues in the past with non-lawn care people buying a Lawn Doctor franchise and not knowing what the heck to do. So, yeah, don't go there. 42 acres for $100 per. I mean, per application. I guess I'm not certain what I'm reading it again. 42 acres for less than $100 per. I'm guessing that's $100 per acre. Right. Okay. Yeah. Don't. Oh, it's a well-established one. I don't know. Maybe it's a new salesperson or something, or I have no idea. They're probably not treating all 42 acres. There's something up there, but I would stay far away from that. I would stay far, far away. A lot of those big commercial accounts, you won't have a chance with. And my advice to you is to not get involved. If somebody's doing it like that for that much cheaper, don't do it. Lawn Doctor's always hit or miss. There's good ones and there's bad ones and there's evil ones and there's good guys and there's successful ones and there's idiots. So it's hit or miss. How can they do it? They're not doing it for that. They are definitely losing money. Here's a question. What's up, Dave? How far will a 200-gallon tank go? How many gallons per 1,000 square feet? So it's basic math. If you're going to spray at 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet, a 200-gallon tank will go 100,000 square feet. If you're going to spray 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet, you'll be able to treat 133,000 square feet per fill. There are many times when you will want to treat more than that in one day. And Dave, I know that you're just getting started up there. So we used to try to treat 200,000 square feet a day. We'd spray 200,000 square feet a day per truck. That's what we would go out with in the springtime. Because we were in the position where we had to get a lot of lawns done in a very short period of time, and we'd be spraying at 1.5 gallons per 1,000. But we'd have a 200-gallon tank with a 100-gallon pony tank attached to it. So we'd have 300 gallons at 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet. That's 200,000 square feet. So my advice to you is you're going to get, it's better for more volume. More volume, 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet is good. That's the best you can do. You can ratchet it down to 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet and still be okay. You don't want to go any less than that. And your next question is probably, how do you calibrate that? How do you figure it out? 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet should come out to be about 2 gallons per minute. So if your nozzle is spraying 2 gallons per minute, do a bucket test. Get a bucket, measure out 1 gallon, spray it into the bucket while you're looking at your watch. Actually, we don't really look at watches anymore. We look at our phones. And time 30 seconds. So you should have 1 gallon come out in 30 seconds. To take it to the next level, go out to the parking lot and literally measure off 1,000 square feet. Measure off 1,000 square feet. Fill your tank with water. Do your bucket check, and then see how long it takes you to spray 1,000 square feet. And try to get, calibrate. Always calibrate what you're doing, right? So always mark what you're going out with in volume in the morning, and you need to, put it up against, your usage versus square footage. If you've got 200 gallons of product and you're spraying at 1 gallon or 2 gallons per 1,000, you should spray 100,000 square feet. If you're out on the road and you're measuring your measurements, you spray 100,000 square feet in 2 hours and your measurements may be wrong, you got to fix your measurements. It's all about calibrating. It's all about getting used to it. And there's not an exact science. Everybody sprays a little bit differently, but you got to calibrate your equipment appropriately and just kind of mess around with it a little bit. Lots of questions here. Using the quantities in the product guide, is that for 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet? Nope. You'll notice that because everybody's different, we only tell you, or I only tell you, ounces of product per 1,000 square feet, right? So I don't know if you're going to spray it 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. I don't know if you're going to spray it 1.5 gallons per 1,000 square feet. You need to make sure that no matter what you do, no matter what rate you're using, and again, it's just math, that you're getting the recommended ounces per 1,000 square feet in whatever volume. So, all right, let me do a quick rundown for you, right? So, if you've got a 200-gallon tank and you're spraying it 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet, you're going to treat 100,000 square feet. If you're using a product that's labeled at 8 ounces per 1,000 square feet, and you're going to treat 100,000 square feet, 100 times 8 is 800 ounces. 800 ounces divided by 128 is 6.25 gallons. It makes sense for you to actually put together a fill chart. So wherever you're loading your truck, sit down at your desk, do all this math, figure it out, and make a fill chart. You know, how much product you need, how much growth activator do you need per 100 gallons, how much growth activator do you need per 50 gallons, and have it handy so you can fill it out. If you need some help with that, Dave, I'm happy to help out. Vinny, good question. How long can extra product stay in the spray tank empty every day? It's a good idea to try to empty it every day. If you're going out the door and you only need to treat 50,000 square feet, if you know you're going to treat less than full load, don't mix for a full load. The product will be okay. You always want to try to mix what you're going to use. You know, inevitably things happen. You never want to go more than 2 days. Don't mix up something on Monday and spray it all week long. So if you got it in the truck, use it up before you remix. You know, run it out and then remix. If you go a couple days, it's okay. A lot of guys will tell you, especially with the 702, if that stays in the truck or in a tank for a long period of time and you forget about it, it will really stink. It won't smell good. Even though we're using a different sort of fish in there, it's still going to stink. Plus, a lot of times what will happen is that you'll lose efficacy. The microorganisms, when they come out of dormancy, and that's what makes our products better and different than any other type of product, biologically active product, is that the products are the microorganisms and the bugs are stabilized and they're dormant, and they're going to come out of dormancy when they're exposed, especially to air and the elements. So when they begin to come out of dormancy, they need to feed, so they need to eat. And this is a similar thing with compost tea. And Vinny, I know you've messed around with compost tea. You need a source of food for the bacteria and fungi for them to be able to proliferate. If you leave them in the tank and they come out of dormancy, they're going to run through the food that's in the product. There are certain things put in the product for them to actually feed on and multiply. Mostly sugar, molasses, things like that. Sucrose and dextrose. So I'm rambling. Somebody stop. How long can extra product stay in the spray tank empty every day? Yes, do the best you can to empty the tank every day. If you don't or you can't, it's okay to go a couple days. Don't go more than a couple days, though. So what if we get folks signing up after the first application? Start with Growth Activator Pro, start them with Growth Activator Pro, or jump right into the 702. Justin, good question. I would always pick up with where you're at in the program. So if you're at round 2 and you get a new sale, don't go back and use the round 1 product. I mean, you could if you wanted to, and the Growth Activator is designed to populate soil biology. That's got 60 strains and species of bugs in it. The 702 has about half that because, in terms of cost, we want to get some nitrogen and potassium, and then we don't want to double the cost of the product. It's a little bit of a different consortium, too, because it's a different time of year. I would always, as a rule, start with where you're at in the program. Now, with that being said, jutted. I always want to try to cram. I'm two people right now. I'm the guy talking agronomy, and I'm the guy talking business. I always want to cram as many applications as I possibly can in on a customer. So here I am as the business guy. I will, if you're doing a 6-app program, I would run 6 apps on everybody I can up to, don't do round 1 until June 1st. Now the product that you use might be a little different. So you might, one customer might get the 702 twice, and that's okay. So don't skip round 1 until you get closer to June or at least into May. But don't remix a tank just to go back and start over again. Always treat with whatever round you're in. It's basically put together to kind of coincide with the weather conditions. Does that make sense? I've had several cups of coffee and I'm rambling like crazy. Always try to get as many apps as you can in on the customer, but don't make any special mixes to try to catch somebody up. And Keith, who is always offering very good words of wisdom, he's right. He says we double down until we get to round 3 as to not miss any apps. Catch them up and bill them. You want to bill 6 apps on as many possible customers as you possibly can. Skips are not good for your revenue. All right. Chuck, good question. I'm glad I asked because you guys are coming up with some good questions here. If a customer is treated round 1 by another company with pre-M, do you want us to start with our round 1 products on their second treatment? No, start with wherever you're at. So referring to what I was just rambling on about a couple minutes ago, start them wherever you're at. And I think what you might be trying to get to, and I could be wrong, is the chemical application, the chemical pre-emergent. Is that wiping out soil biology? Do you need to repopulate it with growth activator? Yes and no. As I've said before, pre-emergents are probably one of the the least damaging chemicals to the soil food web. Insect controls will always just wipe everything out. Pre-emergents are probably the least damaging. Post-emergent herbicides can do a pretty good number on it, but don't take that into consideration with what you're going to do to treat the lawn. So just always pick up with where you're at. So if you're doing round 2 treatments and you're picking up with a customer who had TruGreen did round 1, just do your basic round 2. And I'm catching up with my questions here, and some of them are going back. So Keith also says he did the math on Kevin on your lawn doctor thing, and he did it better than I did. So $100 per app divided by 43 acres is about $2 per 1,000 square feet, and I did it wrong. So at $2 or a little more than $2 per 1,000 square feet, they could be break-even, but they're still losing money. Sometimes maybe I'll back up on what I said. Don't get involved with that. At $2.50 per 1,000 square feet, if it's 40 acres, that's not a bad cash flow deal. You know what I mean? You might not be making your margin on it, but if you're making a little bit, sometimes it's not bad to get out there and get it done. That's a little bit, $2.35 is a little bit better than the buck per 1,000 that I did in my head. I wasn't a math major, but so $2.50 per 1,000 square feet is awfully close. I mean, that's crazy to get down there. So as Keith says, they must be getting a super deal on the product. But I'm guessing probably not. It's just somebody bent, and then lowballed it to get the sale. Yeah, and if the property, if the job itself on one site, that's a big 43 acres is huge. I mean, that's a big, that's almost 2 million square feet. So if it's all on one site, and Keith brings up a good point, if you're driving around all over the place to do it, if you're making tents to do that, it's crazy. But if you're showing up on one job site and you can just spray out or push out or whatever, you know, it might be all right. Might not make a lot of money, but you'll stay busy for a little bit. And as Keith says, if it's all together, it's not terrible. It's not great. Can we mix all of the products together in the tank, growth activator, kelp? You always, anytime, Sean, anytime you have a, most of our applications consist of 2 inputs. So always put them together. Yep. You don't need to make 2 passes or anything like that. So, round 1, growth activator and kelp, mix them together. Yep. If you were going to do a blanket app with corn gluten, yes, you can put that in there too. They'll all live together happily ever after. And the growth activator to make the corn gluten work better and faster too, to make it go to work right away. The microbes and the microorganisms in the growth activator will prevent leaching. They'll begin to digest it and excrete it, and it will work out good. Good question, Scott. What's going on? What would I recommend as a price per 1,000 square feet for multiple acres, or cost per acre? My mind does not work per acre. My mind works in per 1,000 square feet. So a lot of times people ask me for a cost per acre, and I just have like a disability to answer it. So whenever I talk numbers, I only talk in per 1,000 square feet. So if your mind is working in acres, we'll have to do the math. What would I recommend as a cost per 1,000 for multiple acres? You always want to start when you're down in your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 square foot lawns. You want to be way up. You want to be high. You want to be $8, $9 per 1,000 square feet, depending on what your market is. If you can do a 5,000 square foot lawn, I don't know. Depends on your market, right? So if you're $40, $50, those ones are going to be profitable. Some companies come in low and hard, and if you're going to come in at, if you want to do a small lawn, a 5,000 square foot lawn for $30, that's okay too, because you're still going to be, making money. That's what, $6 per 1,000 square feet. But the higher you get, and Chris Paul and I talk about this often too. I don't see Chris on here today. The math starts to fall apart a little bit. And you have to reduce your cost per 1,000 significantly as you get up into higher lawns. So let's take that example we were just talking about. Kevin, is talking about a 40-acre site. If it's all on one spot, you can go there and you can treat it, in a day or 2 days. Maybe a long day, whatever. You've got a couple trucks. You can get down to $3 or $4 per 1,000 square feet, because don't forget, you're not using up fuel. You're making, you're not spending a ton of dough on marketing. You're making a really big sale all at once. I mean, shit. I mean, that could be a week's worth of work. If it's 2 million square feet, it's almost 2 weeks worth of work. You might not be as profitable, but you make it up in volume. So whenever you're looking at your price list, it's going to really, the cost per 1,000 square feet is going to fall apart, at 16, 17, 18, 20, up to 25,000 square feet. It gets expensive up there. So you have to kind of, take into consideration what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to maintain that high margin, hold your ground. But you're not going to make as many sales up there with those bigger lawns, because of guys like Lawn Doctor and the other companies that are willing to go down. $3, $4 per 1,000 square feet would be the absolute minimum, though, Scott. I would never ever go below 3. That's why when we're looking at that, Keith did the math. It was $2.35 per 1,000 square feet. That's too low for me. I'd say never go below 3. But 3, 4, even 5 is okay. Sometimes, if you got to negotiate a little bit, that'll work too. Okay, I'm catching up with you here. It's 8 different properties. Screw it. You're going to lose money. I think that I'd run away from that. If you got to travel around to 8 different places to do 2 million square feet or whatever it was, and you're going to do it to lose money, if you're going to lose money, at least lose money on one site, not 8. And I will tell Scott that. I think Scott might be around. He was over, I don't know if he jumped on, or he was over at the Holiday Inn. All right, so I'm going to keep going down the list here. Thank you for asking all these questions. Keith, again, I think that's right, too. I mentioned that the growth activator would make the corn gluten work better, and Keith says, I bet that's why ours worked so well last season. He had a friend who sprayed it alone and did not get the same results. So anytime you use any product with something like growth activator, where let's translate it to like a golf course. A lot of golf courses have begun to use biologically active type products, and they're not doing it to be environmentally friendly or sensitive or because they feel like they want to be organic. They're doing it because they make, what it does is it makes everything that you are applying work more efficiently. So when you apply a soil inoculant or something with as many strains and species of microorganisms as growth activator, it sequesters a lot of the other things that you're putting down with it. By that I mean the microorganisms will consume it so that it doesn't leach. And that's how it works better. They consume it and then they excrete it. So in a perfect biological setting, there's no waste, right? There's nothing running off. Everything is consuming something else and then excreting it, and that is being used to do another thing. So that's how the soil food web works. If you really want to get into it, read the soil biology primer, or just some of those other books we sometimes talk about, Teaming with Microbes, and my favorite is Talking Dirt. Read one of those books that sometimes they're hippie books, but it talks about the soil food web and how everything that you apply, if the soil food web is working appropriately, is used more efficiently. So when you apply a product like corn gluten or anything else alongside a very a wide consortium of microorganisms, it's going to work better and work with less. That's the goal. Okay, let me read this one. Do you have a formula for getting us close to what we should be charging? I know everyone's costs are different, but how about a rule of thumb? I've read things such as products should be 20% of what you're charging, but obviously that doesn't apply to large acreages. What's your formula? I hope maybe I answered some of that as I was talking before. There's a lot of different variables in there, and not the least of which is your personal goals and aspirations. One of our best dealers, the guys at Perfilon, they're bigger, so they can kind of afford to do this. Actually, they send some guys to training. They got some guys over there right now. They made a conscious decision to have their organic program be the same cost as their chemical program. So they put it out there and they allow their customers the choice. They can choose whatever they want for the same cost. The reason they brought the organic way down, and I think they're generally inexpensive anyways, is because you can drive profit through two ways. You can drive profit through volume, meaning if you're doing a lot of something at a lower margin, you're going to make more money. Or you can drive profit through increased margin and lower volume. If you want to present it as an absolute premium service and charge a high cost, you'll definitely make fewer sales. You won't make as many sales. You'll treat fewer lawns, but you'll make a higher margin. It's up to you as to what your business model is or how you want to go at it. There's a suggested price list on the due diligence that is my minimum, is what I would suggest as a minimum. I'm trying to think exactly where it is. Can everybody know exactly what it is? It might be under white papers or something like that. But it's an Excel spreadsheet. If you can't find it on there, let me know and I'll email it to you. But there's a lot of variables that go into it, not the least of which is your personal choice. Product cost. When I'm budgeting, when I'm writing a budget, I always want my cost of goods sold to come in at 50%. And when you're writing a budget, your cost of goods sold are three things: product, wages, and trucks and equipment. Now, trucks and equipment, your accountant can kind of manipulate a little bit because you're going to talk about depreciation. It's not an exact dollar figure. Wages you can manipulate a little bit based on, when you pay whoever's doing it. If it's seasonal, you lay them off. You want to give them a bonus. But those three items, your cost of goods sold, should never exceed 50% of total. Sometimes it'll exceed a little bit. 52% of your total revenue should be made up by those three particular segments. So if you can get, I used to start at 25% for product. And that, that was pretty low. It would usually come in closer to 30%. So 30% of all of your sales should be spent on product. So if that's, if you're trying to write a budget, that's a good way to go. So if, just say, stop me if I'm rambling, which I know I am. 10,000 square foot lawn, roughly $2 per 1,000 square feet for product, give or take. It's $20 in product. If I use the 30% rule, $60, roughly $60 for a 10,000 square foot lawn. And again, like we were just doing, that's $6 a 1,000. That's about right. So write a price list. Get out a spreadsheet. I don't think you should ever go lower than 5,000 square feet. If somebody has a 2,000 square foot lawn, charge them what you would charge for a 5. So start at 5 and go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to at least 35. And then you kind of do it in segments and beyond there. And just work it out. Hope that answered your question, kind of. All right, I got a couple of long ones, so let me read them. If I'm not talking, it's I'm trying to read. Okay, Brian, good question. I'm glad you brought that up too. Yeah. By the way, thank you for asking these questions, because I get on here and I start talking, and I have a really problem filling the air, but these are really good questions. I'm going to read the whole thing. Whoa, hold on, Justin. $68 for a 5? All right, so that's Brian, I'm putting you on hold for a minute. Here's what I think that is. TruGreen is charging $68 for a 5,000 square foot lawn. Is that their regular program or is that their organic program? So here I'm thinking that he says regular. The TruGreen price list is always high, and that's wicked high. $68 for a 5,000 square foot lawn is way up there. Now the sales guy is going to go out there and he's going to beat the crap out of that, and it's going to end up being $40. They've had a problem bigger, and it becomes more of a problem every single year. And they've started to try to address it by getting rid of salespeople. But the sales guy, who's under pressure to make 100 sales a week or he loses his job, lowballs the bejesus out of everything just to make the sales, because if he doesn't, he gets fired, and they know that. So then the guy, who the technician, who's getting paid by how much he bills every day, is going out, to a 20,000 square foot lawn for $35. He knows it's going to take him an hour to do, and he has to get to $1,000 for the day before he can even think about going home. So my guess is that they've taken their basic price list, really jacked it up, given the salespeople a little bit of flexibility. Either that, or if that's just the running rate out there, that's that's a lot. Then your price list should be higher. And on that note, yes, Keith, they are killing. TruGreen is absolutely, for the third year in a row, their fourth quarter earnings just came out. ServiceMaster, which owns TruGreen, TruGreen is dragging ServiceMaster's numbers to the dirt. TruGreen is just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. They are in bad shape. So it's kind of good reading. Google it. Google TruGreen earnings or something. It just came out. Brian, I'm going back up here. I'm going to read the whole thing. In an effort to control our labor costs of spot treating on heavily weeded lawns, we're entertaining the idea of using an organic, selective, broadleaf weed and grassy weed control that's applied in liquid broadcast form. The product is called the Green Guardian. It's an 805. Have I heard of this, and do you think it would have adverse effects when used at the same time of our application? I'm glad you asked because I have heard of it, and that's the beet juice product. I used it for a couple of years. This is 7 or 8 years ago, so it may have changed a little bit. To answer the second part of your question, it will not hurt what we're doing. It will only help it. It's an organic product. I think they've got a couple of different products. One might be spiked with some urea. The 805 obviously isn't, but I think it's beet juice concentrate. What I found using the product, I haven't spoken to this guy in a long time, is that it takes multiple applications to get any weed control at all. And you will get some, but it will take multiple treatments to get it. So in that situation, based completely on what your customers' expectations and their attitudes are, if you've got a lawn polluted with weeds, I think you're going to be most successful if you ask their permission to do a rescue treatment. Start round one with a blanket application of the bad stuff. And that's going to be able to let you to take one step backward to take 2 steps forward. Instead of fighting those weeds all year long and blowing the bank on Fiesta and Adios, spray it. Spray it with Momentum, or spray it with Three-Way, or even better, spray it with, Keith, help me out. What's the, what are we using that's got Three-Way and Drive? Quinclorac or Quinstar. It's going to, thanks. That's going to wipe out grassy weeds. If Q4, thank you. Go to Lesco, John Deere, and get some Q4. It's not good. It's actually been found to stay in clippings too. It's not going to degrade. So mulch the clippings. Don't bag them and bring them to the compost pile, because some old lady's tomatoes are going to die when she picks it up at the when she gets her compost at the landfill. But it's going to take care of all your broadleafs. It's going to take care of dandelion, clover, other broadleaf weeds. And if the crabgrass isn't too big at the time, it's going to smoke the crabgrass. It's also going to act as a pre-emergent for the crabgrass. So that's an opportunity where I would go backwards to do the right thing for the lawn. Make sure you run it by the customer first. Let them know you're going to do a bad guy treatment. And do it that way. If you can charge them more, and I didn't notice you typed this in until later, it would be an add-on service. Here's the double-edged sword with this. If you're going to charge them extra to apply a treatment that's going to control weeds, and you're not really certain it's going to control the weeds, and I'm telling you my opinion is that I didn't have good luck with that particular product, you might be in trouble. It's one thing if you're just going to include it and say, I'm going to do the best I can to control the weeds. But if you're going to charge them, $60 to do it, and then it doesn't do a real good job, then you're backpedaling pretty quickly. So that's my opinion on that. Let me know how that product works out too, if you do use it, because it was something that I'd used and tested a couple years ago. Okay, good. I'm reading. I'm told the price list is in white papers. Thanks, guys. Keith, who is a sage at this point, I'm going to read what he wrote here. I think it's better to sell it as a healthy alternative and do not hold back on the safety factor. This was a big mistake we made last year. You don't want to be a coupon away from a lost customer. Keith, are you in a spot where I can unmute you? I don't know if you're in your truck or the office or whatever. So I can't, all right. I'm going to read that as you are unable, you're not in a place where I can unmute you. So I won't, unless I misunderstood you. He brings up an excellent point. He says, I've never been able to charge extra for weed control. The customer usually expects that much. That's the way the industry's always been, weed control is included. And it is dangerous if you charge extra for it and it doesn't work, you're kind of bumming. Brian, weed killing components of citric acid, lauryl sulfate, and phenethylpropionate. Citric acid might be part of the beet juice. Lauryl sulfate is soap. What that is it's sort of an it'll make bubbles actually, but it's gonna open up up the soil, sort of like an aerator. And I don't know what that other thing is, but it doesn't sound good. All right. Sean, going back to what we said earlier, you don't need to have 3 separate tanks holding all three in each. Mix them all together. You're going to be much more productive doing it that way. Here's a good one. Bill chiming in. What's going on, man? I haven't heard from you in a while. FYI, I received a TruGreen mail today. They were recommending a spring aeration due to winter compaction and giving a 10% discount. Is that because the snow is heavy? I've never heard that one before. I'm all for spring aeration. The reason we never did spring aeration because we're running around too crazy trying to get round 1 done, and it's hard to throw an aerator on a truck when every truck is just out treating as much square footage as it possibly can every day. Well, we used to tell customers that we didn't want to do spring aeration because it would interfere with the barrier that would be created by the pre-emergent, and it would generate more weeds. But I think as I grew older and wised up a little bit, that was just an excuse for us that we didn't have time to do it. So if you can aerate in the spring, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think you're going to generate a whole lot more weeds. It's probably going to help prevent more weeds because you are going to reduce compaction. But that is an interesting little twist on why you need to aerate in the springtime because of winter compaction. If that's like because of heavy snow, that's pretty funny. They really are in tough shape, those poor bastards. Sal asking about my lawn cord. You've got 2 options with that, Sal, and I don't know if you've subscribed or not. You can pay all at once, and Luke has given us a 50% discount on the entire year if you pay all at once. So typically it's $50 per month, and it's 12 months. That's $600. If you enter the code GoBeSafe when you sign up for it, you will get charged $300. So it'll be an annual cost of $300. So if you want to pay monthly, you can. I think you get code. I'll have to look, but there's a code to get like half off the first month. By the way, speaking of that, most of you guys had a problem, not a problem, problems, kids with cancer. This is lawn care. Had an issue with his pricing structure, as did I. I hated the way he had it set up with pricing tiers, with square footage tiers, like it was 0 to 5 and then 5 to 9 and 9 to 13 or whatever. That's not how our price lists work, and I've been trying to get him to change that forever. He finally did. So for those of you who have the account, have a lawn cord account, you can fill out your pricing per 1,000 square feet now. Thank God, because it just wasn't working, and he would not change it. Somebody yelled at him enough to do it. It's way easier to have it per 1,000 square feet. Going back to the Green Guardian, okay. Yes, Scott. Scott, it was partially you, and I was thinking of it the other day because I don't think he sent me an email that I think you sent them, and I'm like, I ain't getting involved with this, but it worked. I think you had something to do with it. Luke's not a lawn guy. He's the smartest technical guy I think I've ever come across, and he's a really good guy. But that thing had to be per 1,000 square feet, and it finally is. And thank you, Scott. Brian mentions that the Green Guardian product is recommended to apply it 3 times within a 30-day period. My man. So that's going to be a hard sell for you. That's going to cost a few bucks. If you do 3 applications in a month, maybe it will work. Go for it. Try it, because I'd like to see if it will. Hence why you need to charge for it. You're right. Try it out. I bought a 5-gallon bucket of it from the guy. Literally, like it was before I even started Firebelly. It was during Lawn Dog. It was probably 8 years ago, and I tried it, and it did work on multiple applications, but not great. But maybe something's changed, and if it did, I'd like to know. Keith, can you have it levels like 0 to 3 is the same cost, then add $5 per 1,000 square feet till you hit 10? Now you can. Now you can. You can put in whatever you want. You can manipulate it any way you want. He had it before, and Keith, I think you're a holdout, which is fine. You and Chris. Actually, Chris is no longer a holdout. He's bastardizing the industry, as he says. He had it before in pricing tiers or levels, so that you didn't have a lot of flexibility with what you charged per 1,000 square feet. It was, and the math wouldn't work. So you'd have to do like 0 to the 0 to 5, and then 5 to 8, and then 8 to 12, and then 13 to 16. So sometimes you'd be charging less for a bigger lawn than you would for a small lawn. It just didn't make sense. Now you can set it up any way you want. All right, my board is clear. Anything else? I want to show you, and go ahead and type them in if you need to, but this product I've been working on that I friggin' love. Where is it? Hang on, I opened it before I signed on here. I must have closed it. Hold on a second. It's the new starter fertilizer. Here it is. Everybody see that all right? This new starter fertilizer is a 0-20-30. 0 nitrogen, 20% phosphorus, 30% potassium. So this is a truly, this was one of those deals where I was like, why didn't I think of this before? And as I searched, there's nothing else like it. And I don't know why there isn't, but this is a same to you, Scott. This is a biologically enhanced organic starter fertilizer, and it's ready. It's finally ready. I just did this cell sheet today. I'm trying to redo all the cell sheets too, trying to organize, because we have new products. We got all kinds of stuff going on, and it's slightly disorganized with the way it's placed on due diligence. So hopefully I'll have those out soon. But this is an organic, biologically enhanced starter fertilizer. So anytime you're doing, in lawn care, aeration and seeding to start with, you'd always want to use a starter fertilizer then. You're going to want to use this. For those of you who are doing installations, hydro seeding. This is a perfect hydro seeding product. I don't know how many of you guys do like repair work. Just bringing in some loam and doing some seed, stuff like that. Even new sod. Aeration with overseeding is. This is an awesome product, and it's as I said, it's a 0-20-30, no nitrogen. So you can add nitrogen if you need to, but nitrogen doesn't have any real impact on seed germination or small plant strength. The phosphorus, I keep getting this message. I don't know if I'm having a problem with the visual here, but nobody's complaining, so I guess not. No nitrogen, 20% phosphorus. Phosphorus is going to make expedite germination. For those of you who have phosphorus restrictions, most state restrictions have an exemption for phosphorus when you're doing an installation or you're doing seeding. So at 20% phosphorus, it's there specifically to help germination and increase rooting, make it faster, expedite it. The potassium is in there because once that seedling comes up, potassium is all about cell structure and disease resistance. So that's why we use it for a winterizer in most cases. Potassium as a winterizer helps build cell structure of the plant, of any plant, not just turf, but of any plant, so that, I mean, it's very vulnerable. A tiny little grass seedling is very vulnerable to many different things. So it's going to help the cell structure of the plant. It's also going to help with disease resistance, and we've seen Pythium. If it's crummy ryegrass, you're going to have all kinds of issues with leaf spot and red thread. And if you're doing spring seeding, it's best to use ryegrass because you need that quick germination. So the potassium at 30% is there to help that. We've got a really, really diverse, right here, I'm going to use my highlighter tool. Got a really diverse group of microorganisms. And as I always say, everyone is there for a reason. So we've got the potassium, we've got the phosphorus, we've got the potassium, and we've got all these microorganisms. Actually, remember earlier we were talking about food for the microorganisms, and I think I said sugar. Well, look at this, 4% sucrose, 22% dextrose. These are things that the microorganisms feed on when they come out of dormancy. So I'm not gonna go over every single. Now I can't make my highlighter go away. I'm not going to go over every single bit of information on here, but we will get this to you. The pricing is up on the due diligence. I love this product. You know, every once in a while we come up with a product that's sort of like a head slap, like why didn't we think of that before? But this is a really, really good starter fertilizer. The rate is very, very low. That's supposed to say 1.5 to 2.5 ounces. I'm going to have to fix that. So I literally just did this morning. The rate is 1.5 to 2.5 ounces per 1,000 square feet. This is a water-soluble, solid product. It's the same thing as the Bioscience powder. So it's not a liquid like Growth Activator or 702. This is a water-soluble powder that you're going to mix in your tank. You don't need a ton of volume with it either. You can put this out at 1 gallon per 1,000 square feet. It's all about coverage mostly, as long as you can irrigate after. Got the iron in it. Yes, it is an organic source right here. Dipotassium phosphate. That's considered organic. It's 1% iron too, which is going to help with some color. That's why it's in the dry formulation, to get the iron in there. So let me have Scott get this out to you guys. We'll get it up on due diligence. But if you're doing installations, if you're doing overseedings, we can also do it on ornamentals. You can use it in deep root in your tree and shrub program. I think it's just a sweet product. You have a limit of 1/4 pound of phosphorus per 1,000 square feet. This, even with new installation, Keith, even with new seeding, I think this is going to be less. I don't know the weight of the product. I'm going to have to figure out exactly what, when I look at those rates combined with the weight of the product, yeah, I'm not sure either. I think you got a little bit of an exemption with new installation. Let me do the math on specifically how much per 1,000 square feet phosphorus this is going to generate. I can't do it off the top of my head. So, awesome new product. So I said I wasn't going to talk for an hour, and I've been talking for an hour, but it was actually really good. I wanted to do a couple other marketing things, but I'm not going to. But with this product, again, I believe in most situations in New Jersey could be different. When you're doing an installation, there's an exemption for phosphorus. All right. Anybody else? Anything else I'm gonna wrap up so I can go back over the train. Chip is over there talking to a room full of people on no sleep. He flew in from Milwaukee. He landed at Logan at like 3 o'clock this morning. He said he slept for an hour and he drove to Manchester. And you know how sometimes most of you guys have sat through Chip before. He stands up there and he gets on a roll and he just kind of stands in one spot and will talk for 60 minutes. Try to picture a Chip on no sleep doing that. So I think at times it's turning into a sleepy room over there. I got to go liven things up. So if that's it, if nobody has anything else, I'm going to wrap up. Last chance. I don't mind hanging out and answering more questions. Thank you for those of you who have gotten your projections and orders into Scott and Dick. Dick has probably called some of you guys. We're really busy, so we've actually stopped doing any new dealer recruiting for a while, and Dick is helping Scott get product out to you guys. So some of you will be hearing from Richard in a different role for the next 30 days or so, at least through as we get into April. But thank you so much for those of you guys who've gotten your projections and round one order in. For those of you who haven't, try to get your at least projections together and get them to either Dick or Scott, because we are, as you guys know, we're making Growth Activator on demand. We're not making 10,000 gallons at a time. We make it as it comes in. So we're still shipping pretty close to 2 weeks out. So if you can get your projections into those guys, that'd be helpful. If there's anything else I can help you with, please don't hesitate to call, email, or ask. I'll be more than happy to. And if that's it, we'll talk to you guys later on. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you later.